Helping us continue our earnings outlook, Todd Rosenbluth, a telecom analyst at Standard & Poor's. Todd, you have a market weight rating on the industry. You're fairly neutral on what we're going to see.
Yeah, we are at Standard & Poor's. We believe there's a lot of positive developments as we have wireless growth, as we've seen some cost savings through merger activity at AT&T and Verizon and some of the smaller companies like Citizens Communications. But a lot of the positives are reflected in the stock. There's competitive pressure in this space, and there's a whole lot of changes still to happen.
All right, who's going to be the big winners this quarter?
Well, from a wireless side, we think AT&T and Verizon are going to continue to gain market share as they have in prior periods, whereas Sprint, Nextel, they've already pre-announced that they're going to have a weak quarter in net additions. We think customer loyalty on the wireline side is going to be important. The rural phone companies like Citizens Communications, we think are going to stand out, whereas Verizon and AT&T and Qwest Communications are going to lose more access lines than they're going to pick up from the broadband side.
What about AT&T and the iPhone? How much of a difference is that going to make?
Well, we think it's helping to draw store traffic into AT&T, and the price cut that Apple and AT&T put together on the iPhone is helping to increase interest. This is still a component of what AT&T's wireless operations has to offer, and we think Verizon also is going to hold their own in gaining customers.
All right, you mentioned Sprint, Nextel. Who else might be struggling?
Well, Sprint Nextel is on the wireless side, and then as you move down the wireless space, it's very concentrated. You got the top 4 national carriers with more than 90% of customers. On the wireline side, we have a sell recommendation on Qwest Communications. There's a new management team in place. They're losing customers on the wireline part of the business, and we think that they need to spend more on their capital and their plant to grow.
At this point, you said, well, you kind of want to sit tight on these stocks. How long is it going to take until something becomes a real value?
Well, we think there are some selective values in the telecom space. Standard & Poor's is a strong buy recommendation on Citizens Communications. We think it's undervalued and has a nice dividend yield to reward shareholders. We think Windstream, we have a buy recommendation on them. They're attractive, but overall, we've seen a lot of gains this year in the telecom sector, and we think we might deserve a bit of a, choppiness and pullback before we get more aggressive.
Well, do you think that's a 2008 story or just a quarter or two?
Well, we have to see how the fundamentals play out, and then again, we at Standard & Poor's are looking at the valuations and is there upside to our target prices over the next 12 months, and at this point, there's not a lot of upside in many of the names. Either we're neutral or we have negative recommendations on some of the more well-known companies.
Well, how much of that is due to the economy at this point and uncertainty about that?
Well, the economic outlook is going to have an impact, but telecom services in general has become more of a staple. Wireline services and wireless services, you can't go without those in this marketplace. Talking to kids out there, without a wireless phone, they'd be struggling. Broadband is where we may see more of the delta, but, we'll see how that plays out in the third quarter numbers.
Thanks, Todd Rosenbluth. Just 15 years ago, it was unusual to find a cell phone. Now they're a consumer staple.